Aicis ke-19 Jakarta. Surakarta, American Islam and the changing global context is linking fixed aid to initiation and public policy. Seluruh Islam atas urgensi adaptasi manusia dalam menghadapi wabah pandemi dan pola kerja fikih dan kebijakan publik.
Thank you for attending the 20th Annual International Conference on Islamic Studies 2021. To ensure the success of the event, participants
Aicis adalah sebagai lembaga akademik bagi para peminat kajian keislaman dan keindonesiaan dari berbagai belahan pendekatan, serta menjadi barometer perkembangan kajian keislaman dan keindonesiaan dunia. Dalam 20 tahun perjalanannya, Aicis telah menjadi event konferensi tahunan berskala internasional yang bergengsi dan menjadi kiblat kajian keislaman. Lebih dari 5.000 pembicara telah hadir, serta lebih dari 15.000 paper telah disubmit untuk diseleksi dan dipresentasikan dalam kurun waktu 20 tahun terakhir sebagai event konferensi terbesar Aicis. suatu American design, design, and changing human conduct, essential fix to education and public policy. Sebagai resmi atas urgensi adaptasi manusia yang menjadi bumi dan untuk tujuan fisik dan pendidikan.
Session 7. Column or by clicking the raise hand button. 8. The microphone can be turned on. Answer session guided by a chair or host. 9. Participants must change their display name with the following format: full name, underscores, origin by region or university or institution. 10. The participant must use the Aicis One Touch to get a certificate. Thank you for your cooperation. Thank you for attending the 20th Annual International Conference on Islamic Studies 2021. To ensure the success of the event, participants are required to follow rules as listed below. 1. The teleconference media used is Zoom meeting. 2. Rooms are open 20 minutes before the session starts. 3. Participants must enter the room 10 minutes before the session starts. 4. Participants must turn on their webcam and use a virtual background. 5. Participants must dress politely and neatly. 6. Participants must turn off the microphone during the session. 7. Participants can ask questions through the chat column or by clicking the raise hand button. 8. The microphone can be turned on during a question and answer session guided by a chair or host. 9. Participants must change their display name with the following format: full name, underscores, origin by region.
Inilah International Conference on Islamic Studies atau disingkat Aicis, merupakan forum pertemuan ilmiah para dosen, peneliti, serta pemerhati kajian keislaman dan keindonesiaan yang mempresentasikan hasil penelitian serta kajian yang berasal dari berbagai perguruan tinggi, lembaga riset, dan masyarakat umum lainnya. Visi yang ingin dicapai dalam penyelenggaraan Aicis adalah sebagai mimbar akademik bagi para peminat kajian keislaman dan keindonesiaan dari berbagai macam pemikiran dan pendekatan, serta menjadi barometer perkembangan kajian keislaman dan keindonesiaan dunia. Dalam 20 tahun perjalanannya, Aicis telah menjadi event konferensi tahunan berskala internasional yang bergengsi dan menjadi kiblat kajian keislaman. Lebih dari 5.000 pembicara telah hadir, serta lebih dari 15.000 paper telah disubmit untuk diseleksi dan dipresentasikan dalam kurun waktu 20 tahun terakhir. Sebagai event konferensi terbesar, Aicis tidak lepas dari dinamika serta perubahan bentuk dan format penyelenggaraannya. Bermula pada tahun 2001 di Semarang, Aicis diselenggarakan dalam bentuk pertemuan Direktur Pasca Sarjana PT KIN atau disingkat Fordibas, yang bersepakat menjadikan pertemuan tahunan Fordibas sekaligus menjadi ajang presentasi hasil tesis dan disertasi terbaik dari mahasiswa pasca sarjana saat itu. Bentuk dan format penyelenggaraan ini terus berlanjut hingga tahun 2002 di Padang, 2003 di Yogyakarta, 2004 di Banda Aceh, dan 2005 di Makassar. Hingga pada tahun 2006 di Bandung, ajang pertemuan ilmiah tahunan Fordibas dikembangkan dalam bentuk konferensi tahunan studi Islam atau Annual Conference on Islamic Studies, disingkat Aicis, yang menghadirkan para pembicara baik dari dalam maupun luar negeri, serta peserta yang lebih beragam, baik dari dosen, peneliti, mahasiswa, dan masyarakat pemerhati kajian keislaman. Tema yang diangkat adalah relasi kajian Islam dan sains dalam merespon tantangan lokal dan global. Dilanjutkan pada tahun 2007, Aicis ke-7 dilaksanakan di Kota Pekanbaru dengan tema kontribusi ilmu-ilmu keislaman dalam menyelesaikan masalah-masalah kemanusiaan pada milenium ketiga. Aicis ke-8 diselenggarakan di Kota Palembang tahun 2008, mengambil tema besar penguatan peran PTHI dalam meningkatkan daya saing bangsa. Dan pada tahun 2009, Aicis ke-9 diselenggarakan di Kota Solo dengan Stein Surakarta sebagai tuan rumah, mengambil tema besar merumuskan kembali kajian keislaman di Indonesia. Berlanjut pada tahun 2000, Aicis ke-10 diselenggarakan di Kota Banjarmasin dan tema yang dianggap menemukan kembali Islam Indonesia, kecenderungan dan perubahan. Pada tahun 2011, Aicis ke-11 dilaksanakan di Bangka Belitung dengan tema merangkai mozaik Islam dalam ruang publik untuk membangun karakter bangsa. Dan pada tahun 2012, Aicis bermetamorfosis menjadi Aicis dengan menambah kata internasional sebagai penguat positioning di event ini. Diselenggarakan di Kota Surabaya dengan tema Islamic Studies Revisit from Theoretical to Practical. Tahun 2013, Aicis ke-13 dilaksanakan di Kota Mataram, Nusa Tenggara Barat dengan tema Distinctive Paradigm of Indonesian Islamic Studies Toward the Nation of Islamic Civilization. Tahun 2014, Aicis ke-14 dilaksanakan di Kota Balikpapan, Kalimantan Timur dengan tema Responding the Challenge Multicultural Societies, the Contribution of Indonesian Islamic Studies, Harmony and Diversity, Promoting Moderation and Preventing Conflicts in Socio-Religious Life, merupakan tema dalam perhelatan Aicis ke-15 tahun 2015 di Kota Manado. Dan untuk pertama kalinya, Aicis diselenggarakan di kampus, tepatnya di Yayan Raden Intan Lampung, dengan tema The Contribution of Indonesian Islam to the World Civilization. Pada tahun 2017, Aicis membuat terobosan dengan menggunakan konsep panel group dalam sesi paralel yang diselenggarakan bersamaan dengan perhelatan Penis Expo di PSD Subang, Tangerang, Banten dengan tema Religion, Identity and Citizenship, Horizons of Islam and Culture in Indonesia. Berlanjut pada tahun 2018, Aicis ke-18 diselenggarakan di Kota Palu dengan tema Islam in Southeast Asia and the Global World, Text, Knowledge, and Practice. Dan sebagai respon dinamika disrupsi dan teknologi digital, Aicis ke-19 diselenggarakan di Batavia Hotel, Jakarta pada tahun 2019 dengan tema Digital Islam, Education and Youth, Changing Landscape of Indonesian Islam. Sebagai dampak dari wabah pandemi COVID-19 tahun 2020, penyelenggaraan Aicis ditiadakan dan selanjutnya dilaksanakan secara hybrid, yakni daring dan luring pada tahun 2021 di kota Solo dengan tuan rumah UIN Raden Mas Said Surakarta mengambil tema besar Islam in the Changing Global Context, Rethinking Fixed Actualization and Public Policy sebagai respon atas urgensi adaptasi manusia dalam menghadapi wabah pandemi dalam konteks kajian fikih dan ranah kebijakan publik.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Shalatu wassalamu ala asyrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Dear participants of the 20th Annual International Conference on Islamic Studies, Aicis 2021. First of all, let's say Alhamdulillah. We thank Allah for all the blessings that we get from Him for our help in the midst of this pandemic COVID-19. This morning, we thank Allah for the opportunity and help to participate in this international conference. Since this conference was officially opened by Vice President yesterday morning, there have been many speakers and participants share their ideas, their perspective and their experiences regarding Islamic teaching and the importance of implementing the teaching in our and how to contextualize the teaching in our public policies. This morning, we are going to have a very special session, a session that we call it Ministerial Talks. Alhamdulillah, already online with us, a very important and influential person, Indonesian finance, Sri Mulyani Indrawati, SA, MSE, PhD, is already online with us. For our international audience in particular, let me briefly introduce Ibu Sri Mulyani. Ibu Sri Mulyani was born in Teluk Betung, Lampung, on August 26, 1962. She was the first Indonesian who was appointed as the Executive Director of World Bank. She was in the position from the 1st of June 2010 to the 27th of July 2016. In Indonesian government, Ibu Sri Mulyani has gone through different ministerial positions. Before being appointed as the Minister of Finance, she was the Minister of National Development Plan and Bappenas, as well as the Coordinating Minister of Economy. Ibu Sri Mulyani's reputation and achievement in financial sector has been unquestionable. Her performance has impressed international audiences and institutions. On the 18th of September 2006, Ibu Sri Mulyani was awarded by Emerging Market as the best Minister of Finance in Asia. 1 year later, in 2007, she was selected by Globe Asia as the second most influential woman in Indonesia. And in 2008, Forbes, one of the most influential magazines in the world, awarded Ibu Sri Mulyani as the 23rd most influential woman in the world. Dear participant of the 20th Aicis, this is a very special morning for us. The best Minister of Finance in Asia is going to share with us her ideas, experiences, and policies regarding the development, the control, and the sustainability of financial system in Indonesia. We are delighted to hear from Ibu Sri Mulyani about the milestones of her financial policies in developing, controlling, and sustaining Indonesian financial system. In particular, we would like to listen to Ibu Sri Mulyani's experiences and perspective of being a Minister of Finance in the largest and diverse Muslim country in the world. Hopefully, Ibu Sri Mulyani will share with us to what extent some fundamental Islamic principles such as justice, transparency, credibility, and accountability have been adopted and contextualized in Indonesian financial system. So, without further ado, please welcome Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, Ibu Sri Mulyani Indrawati. Ibu Menteri, time is yours. Silakan Ibu.
Okay. Thank you Pak Muhammad Sirojli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to all of you, the participants of the 20th Annual International Conference in Islamic Studies. It is really an honor for me to be able to share with you this morning regarding the contextualizing Islam in public policy, especially in my own domain or responsibility, that is on the fiscal side, that is the design of the fiscal policy. Let me provide you with the 4 areas that I'm going to present with you. First, on the Islamic values and how it can also shape or influence the policy, including fiscal policy. And then the second one, when you talk about contextualization, we cannot avoid to discuss the current challenge, that is the COVID-19 and the risk that is created. And the third one, how the fiscal policy in Islamic context creating a response to this challenge and the way forward. First, I would like to quote the 2 verses which is very, very dear to my heart. This is also reflecting my own personal journey or career in this case. That it's Surat Al-Qasas verses 77. And seek the abode of the hereafter with the wealth that Allah has given you. And do not forget your part in this world. And do favors to others the way Allah has favored you. And do not seek to cause turmoil, destruction in the world or in the earth. Indeed, Allah does not like the mischief. So this is the verses which also inspire me and giving me the belief we should do here, your part in this world. And we have to treat others just like Allah treat well to you. And of course, Allah doesn't like those who destroy or creating a destruction and turmoil. This is also very, very fit with our discussion, for example, about sustainability or climate change. The second verse is Al-Furqan. It is he who has appointed the night and the day to succeed one another, providing a sign for whoever desire to reflect and so be mindful, or desire to be thankful. The true servants of the Gracious One are those who walk upon the earth with humility, and when they are addressed by the ignorant one, the response is peace. Again, within the context of today, this is really dear to my heart. That actually for those who are always thankful, no matter how hard the challenge that you are facing in this life, whether in what position, whether you are a policymaker or you are just the ordinary citizen, don't forget to always thankful. Be very mindful. And of course, walk upon the earth. Basically, I walk upon the earth. I've been visiting more than 100 countries in the world. But at the same time, the reminder is to be always humble with humility. And of course, sometimes people will shout at you or whatever. The people can be also very, very fierce in their comment. Your response is supposed to be peace. So this is my two very inspiring verses. It's creating a strength as well as a guidance for me when I, at the same time, now having the responsibility of designing and implementing fiscal instrument or fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is the state finance, which is very, very important for the objective of the country to achieve the goal of the country, that is equality and prosperity, a just or keadilan, and prosperity, kemakmuran. Fiscal, in this case, the state finance or the budget have three very important implication or instrument for allocation, distribution, and stabilization. This is terminology in economics. That is how we are going to use the fiscal tools to create allocation, how we can allocate resources in the most efficient way, including, in this case, public goods. The second one, how we can affect or even shape distribution. This is not only the income, but also wealth and opportunity. And the third fiscal instrument is very critical in maintaining stabilization or stability in the economy or a country. These are all actually, if you reflect and try to project with the economic concept of Islam, in which creating not only a well-being, but really based on three principles: justice, or in this case, equality, keadilan, balance, or in this case, keseimbangan or sustainability. And the third is manfaat atau kemaslahatan, benefits. Three pillars to achieve the same goal. And of course, this within the context of the society in which hablul minanas should be based on ukhuwah and built with the akhlak and akidah, which is according to the Islamic principle. So how you are going to contextualize Islam in your public policy? Islam, in this case, is trying to achieve not only a good life for today, but in your life after or hereafter life, dunia and akhirat. And because of the orientation is not only very short term, that is just to achieve the goals in this today life, but you also believe, fully aware, fully conscious about the afterlife, then the decision, the way you think, and the way you act is not going to be only oriented for today's glory, today's prosperity, today's achievement. You are going to be very careful because at the same time you are investing your activity ibadah for the afterlife. And as we can see in here, the Maqasid al-Shari'ah, which is established people prosperity in the world, not only in this life, but afterlife, with the objective that can be classified according to the three area, that is the necessity or the basic need of the people. The second one is the requirement or facilitating life. And the third is embellishment or better utilization of goods and services. Daruriyah, Hajiyah, and Tasiniyah. So basically, how we are going to use policy instrument in order for us to be able to create first the basic need in a more equitable way. All people should have the equal opportunity to get basic needs, and to make them then have the ability to live their full life by facilitating them to participate in the activity which is productive and dignified. And of course, that can and should be done with the utilization and goods and services in a better way. This is principle of good governance. So there is a basic needs, there is an efficiency, but also good governance. And this is to achieve the prosperity for all in an equitable way. In Indonesia term, that means keadilan sosial bagi seluruh masyarakat Indonesia. That is equitable prosperity and for all. So let me now, with this kind of norm, now putting in the today's context. Currently, all countries in the world facing with this pandemic, COVID-19, which devastating not only on the health, but also on social and economic consequences. The number of COVID is, alhamdulillah, has been declined, but this is not to say that the challenge is over. We are still, all over country in the world are still facing with the continued mutation of the COVID-19 variant, which always then creating a new challenge. Just like India with the Delta variant, which is now spreading to the whole world, which is much more contagious, and that's creating a devastating impact, not only just life-threatening, but also economically is very devastating. Indonesia has already passed the peak of the second wave of COVID-19. Again, comparing to other countries in the world, our ability to contain this Delta variant in relatively short and effective way is also remarkable. This is given that this country has a huge population, the fourth largest population in the world, and geographically is also very challenging. An island country, archipelago country, which is not easy for all of us to continue to create all what you call it a synergized effort. And that's why the achievement for Indonesia, even if you compare with many neighboring countries, with this huge task, both on the population, geography, as well as complication of the organization, is actually very, very remarkable. We continue going to increase vaccination as the necessary condition to overcome this COVID-19. At the same time, we continue also implementing the health discipline in order for us to be able to recover the activity without increasing the risk of contagion from COVID-19. The government in this case is using all tools in order to address this COVID-19. Globally, all countries in the world also using their instrument, whether this is fiscal and monetary and other instrument in addressing the COVID-19 consequences. With all those efforts, economy now is recovering, although the recovery is not even. Not all countries recover with the same strength and speed. Alhamdulillah for Indonesia, we've already achieved the pre-COVID GDP level. This is also indicating that our recovery is strong enough and fast enough. Comparing to many other countries which is not yet achieved their pre-COVID GDP level, this is also another achievement. Certainly, the government is using all instruments, but the world is never always a simple situation. Even when we are striving to recover from this COVID, we are facing another headwinds or additional risk. The global economy is never actually always in a very easy as well as stable situation. During this recovery process, we also see and witnessing a growing risk which is coming from big economy like US, EU, and China, which creating potential spillover effect to many countries, including Indonesia. At the same time, the recovery also creating increasing commodity price, which then creating another pressure that is inflation. And that can easily undermine the recovery process for all countries. So basically, this is the environment and the context in which we are all have to deal with, while at the same time, we have to use our policy in order for us to make sure that we can protect the people and the economy. And on top of that, we want to make sure that in protecting the people and the economy, we also implementing the value of Islam, that is creating a prosperity which is just or equitable and providing also an opportunity for all. So how Indonesia responding to this challenge? Our fiscal tools is the most important one. COVID is an extraordinary challenge, and that's why the response is also extraordinary. The policy through the presidential decree, that is Perpu, that is emergency law, which is then has been adopted by the parliament to become law number 2 2020, providing a solid legal framework for us to be able to respond mainly on the fiscal side, but also together with Bank Indonesia on the monetary side, as well as OJK on the financial regulatory side, in order to deal with the consequence, a very devastating consequence of this COVID-19. One of the consequence is the revenue, which is coming from the taxation as well as non-taxation, dropped significantly, almost 16% last year. On the other hand, the spending for health, for protecting people, for protecting economy and recovering the economy is actually very, very expensive. That's why the deficit allowed to have more than 3% of GDP. This is the consequence on the fiscal side. We use this instrument together with the other instrument, that is the reform, in order for us to be able to recover stronger and better. But of course, instrument on the fiscal side cannot be excessively and continuously used in an unsustainable way. And that's why the next challenge is how you are going to restore the healthy fiscal instrument while at the same time supporting the recovery of the economy. State budget is always flexible and responding to the uncertainty. This is because fiscal policy is an instrument which is very critical for the economy, whether, as I mentioned earlier, on the distribution, allocation, and stabilization. When the world is affected by a shock, then fiscal is going to step in. This is what we call it the counter-cyclical. When the world facing with the COVID, with the new variant, which is much more contagious, then we have to respond through, again, fiscal instrument. But this is not just responding in a timely way. We also have to make sure that this response is going to create a much better, especially for those which is affected much more severe from this COVID. With all those responses, the recovery of the economy has been continued, the mobility is increasing, and we see the recovery of the Indonesia economy. Let me now discuss about how the design of the fiscal policy, which actually aiming for supporting the most vulnerable, the poorest and the most vulnerable on our population. This is exactly the same Islamic values that you have to care especially for the poor. I think many surah or verses in Quran always advising Muslim to be always taking care of the orphan, that is anak yatim, as well as the poorest. And that is exactly also the design of the fiscal tools. During this very, very extraordinary hardship, fiscal tools step in providing an extraordinary support for the poorest population. Traditionally, even during non-COVID situation, the government using fiscal tools also allocating budget, especially for the poorest, in a very progressive way. So we collect tax from the rich and use this proceed to provide social safety net and support for the poor. This is exactly the design or the idea of equality, just or keadilan within the Islamic value. How you are going to implement keadilan within the context of the fiscal tools. In 2020, because of the COVID, we expanded social protection. So not only providing 10 million family with a conditional cash transfer, that is program Keluarga Harapan, we also provide additional 10 million families with the cash transfer. So there are now 20 million family which is supported by the government. On top of that, we still provide additional 8 million family at the village level using our village fund cash transfer. So 28 million family supported directly by the fiscal. This is a hardship relief, and again, this is reflecting what you call it a just principle. In addition to that cash transfer, the government also providing electricity discount or subsidy for the poorest, that is the 450 VA families, they are receiving 100% subsidy, meaning that they are not paying electricity. For the 900 VA, they are getting the discount of 50%. So 32.6 million family receive this kind of support. Again, these are all relatively poor and the most vulnerable family. But that's not all. We also provide food and education support. Kartu Sembako or staple food card for 24.7 million family, food assistance for 28.8 million families, and we also providing internet quota for all students as well as teacher in order for them to continue still learning even though they cannot see physically. And on top of all this social safety net, we also provide support for the labor or worker with the lowest salary level. that is below 5 million per month. They are providing with the wage subsidy 8.8 million workers, and also Kartu Prakerja for 5.8 million people. So these are all, as I can see it, as one of the very clear reflection and implementation of what you call it principle of justice or prinsip keadilan, principle of equality, in which using government resources in order for us to be able to provide support for the most vulnerable and the poorest. With that support, Indonesia were able to contain the negative consequence of COVID. Yes, the poverty and the unemployment rate increased because of the poverty, because of the COVID, but their increase is not as severe if we didn't provide support for the poorest as well as for the worker. Even in this case, we saw now declining again the unemployment rate as well as poverty because of this government support. So state budget designing the support with the objective of first, of course, addressing the issue, as I mentioned earlier, the necessity for the people, that is daruriyah, the basic need, that is they need support in the form of food, education, and health. So the design of pemulihan ekonomi or PCPEN in this case is to support health and also for social safety net. This is what you call it daruriyah or necessity. And hajiyah, in order for us to be able to facilitate all actors to be able to live a full life, even during this very, very difficult time or hardship. So if you look at this design, you can see that the health, social protection, as well as including the support for the internet, these are all to make sure that the people, especially the most vulnerable, have the ability to access the basic needs and facilitating the life or the requirement. And of course, government supporting the business so that they are going to be able to survive. These are all consistent with what I call it the Makasih Syariah in terms of the design. And we continue this kind of design for this extraordinary time for 2020, 2021, and 2022. The amount increased significantly for 2021 because of the Delta variant and the response of the fiscal in a very flexible way, especially with the level of challenge that we are facing. We do hope with the recovery of the economy in 2022, we will be able to starting to scale down, but still have the ability to protect especially the most vulnerable and the poorest. Let's now look at the continue and in the medium terms. Fiscal policy, as I said, working very hard during this pandemic situation. During pandemic, at the same time, we also allocate significant amount for the people, that is human capital development, but also for infrastructure and also to transform the economy. President Jokowi has already outlined the priority of our economic policy, that is in order for us to be able to achieve a strategic objective of improving human capital, infrastructure development, strengthening and creating a more efficient bureaucracy, regulatory reform, and economic transformation. Page 27. And these are all can be done using the fiscal tools. Fiscal playing a very, very important element for us to be able to design what you call it, the necessary condition, the fulfillment of life, and to provide an opportunity. But fiscal is not a one stand-alone instrument. We also do what we call it structural reform, page 26. Why? Because this structural reform, page 26 please, we will be able to create what we call it the third element of Makasid, that is how we are going to create an equal opportunity and better utilization of goods and services. Indonesia have rich natural resources, yes. Indonesia have a young demography, yes. A big population, yes. But all this potential cannot be translated into prosperity for all in an equitable way when the policy and regulatory framework creating more complication rather than facilitating people to be able to be productive and innovative. And that's why structural reform can be seen as an effort by the government to simplify so that the population, the people, especially the younger demographic, the young generation, they have the ability to then be very productive and innovative. Whether you are choosing as an entrepreneurial, any other occupation, but you have the equality of opportunity and an environment in which they are going to be able to always find their idea to be translated into action. And that's why this structural reform in the form of job creation law is very critical. Government providing budget, whether this is for education for pesantren, madrasah, as well as other school. We also provide vocational training. We also provide, in this case, health support. These are all necessary conditions. But when the population growing, they are aiming to then play a productive role in the society. But their ability to participate in the society in a productive way will really depend on the climate, investment climate and regulatory climate. The ability to simplify the regulation will complement the ability for us to provide support so that all population have the ability to thrive. And this is exactly how we actually design the policy both on the fiscal side and the structural side. Within this context, the government also using, again, instrument that we are at our disposal in order for us to be able to create the ability for people to participate in the financing of development. Government collect tax, but at the same time, government issue debt. The instrument of debt is an investment instrument for the population. People can buy sukuk financial instrument in order for them to be able to invest, which is based on Sharia rule. And this is one of what you call it mutualistic objective in which people can participate in the development, but at the same time, they are going to be able to put their investment or their saving in a safe instrument like sukuk, which is issued by the government. This all is very, very critical when we are talking about the instrument, financial instrument, which is getting more and more diversified. Not only that we issue sukuk that is compliant to the Sharia, we also issue sukuk which is green. Because within the context of today, the challenge of pandemic is not the only and the last challenge that we are all will face as a humankind. We are going to face another very challenging task, that is climate change. So for all of us to be able to design the policy and instrument to address the issue of climate change is again, not only this is going to be consistent with what I mentioned earlier, Surat Al-Qasas verses 77, in which do not seek to cause destruction in the world. So we have to take care of this world, the earth. Climate change definitely is going to create a threat for our earth. And for us to be able to design a policy as well as complementing it with the instrument, financial instrument, like a green sukuk bonds is very critical. And the participation of the people, the public, to not only support the policy, which is climate change friendly, at the same time, they are still continue comply with Sharia. The last thing which I would like to address here is digital technology. We are all know that pandemic has transformed many activity using digital technology. That's including financial side. But digital technology, which can again provide equal opportunity for all to be able to use this technology, whether for working, whether for learning, for school, can only be done if we have the infrastructure in place. Digital infrastructure requires a lot of spending on the infrastructure. The government now also providing huge increase on infrastructure spending in order for us to be able to create opportunity to access digital technology, including internet, for the remote area, the still lag behind area, and especially for the poor family. We are providing, in this case, internet connection for more than 20,000 villages, which is currently not yet connected to the internet. This is again one of the principle of creating equality or just for all. That is the principle which is the core value of Islam. So I do hope that these are all creating at least the element for all of you to look and reflect the fiscal policy, which is maybe in the daily life, we are not putting in the term of the Islamic term, but basically the fiscal policy that we design is also consistent with the Islamic value. I would like to stop here so that I will return to Bapak Muhammad Siroji. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam, Ibu Menteri. Thanks very much for a very comprehensively sharing with us about the initiative, yeah, the reform, the approaches, and the strategies that also the values that have been adopted in developing and strengthening Indonesian financial system and stabilize Indonesian economy. In particular, we really amazed with the extent to which Islamic values, yeah, such as justice, yeah, adil, keseimbangan, ya, tawazun, etc., etc., seem to have been, very seriously considered in the making of financial and economic policy in Indonesia, especially in this particular difficult time. Another very interesting idea that has been shared with us is how the policies have encouraged the participant of the people, yeah, in developing and recovering the economy. And the last point, which is very important that Ibu Menteri has explained, is the development of digital infrastructure as a part of the development of economy in Indonesia, that we believe will allow a wider involvement of people, society in our economic activities. So the participant of the 20th Aicis, of course, on behalf of all organizers of this Aicis, we like to thank you very much to Ibu Menteri. Yeah, unfortunately, Ibu Sri Mulyani, will not have time for question and answers. So, Ibu Menteri, thank you very much for your talk with us today. Thank you very much. And yeah, and by now we close this session, this special session, with say Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sebagai ajang konferensi keislaman dan keindonesiaan tahunan terbesar dan berskala internasional, Aicis telah hadir lebih dari 2 dasawarsa di Indonesia. Kegiatan yang diselenggarakan oleh Direktorat Pendidikan Tinggi Keagamaan Islam, Ditjen Pendidikan Islam, pada Kementerian Agama Republik Indonesia ini telah mewarnai wajah studi Islam di Indonesia yang moderat, inklusif, dan adaptif, serta responsif terhadap dinamika kemasyarakatan, kenegaraan, dan kebangsaan. Kontribusi ilmu-ilmu keislaman telah hadir dalam menyelesaikan masalah-masalah kemanusiaan pada milenium ketiga, termasuk peran perguruan tinggi keagamaan Islam dalam meningkatkan daya saing bangsa. Kajian keislaman yang sejalan seiring dengan kajian keindonesiaan telah menemukan wajah tersendiri yang merespon keberagaman dan kebinekaan, yang mendorong moderasi dan prevensi konflik, serta berkontribusi pada pembangunan peradaban dunia. Dan inilah the 20th Annual International Conference on Islamic Studies 2021, hadir di kota Solo dengan tema Islam in a Changing Global Context, Rethinking Faith, Reactualization, and Public Policy. Sebuah tema yang membincangkan kembali akan pentingnya reaktualisasi fikih dan kontekstualisasinya di tengah perubahan zaman, serta dinamikanya yang pernah diangkat 30 tahun lalu oleh Munawir Satsali. Aicis ke-20 hadir dengan bahasan bagaimana memikirkan kembali reaktualisasi fikih di tengah perkembangan dan perubahan zaman saat ini, termasuk hadirnya teknologi informasi, datangnya wabah pandemi COVID-19 hingga ranah kebijakan publik. Perubahan dan dinamika yang berlalu begitu cepat mendorong pemikiran bahwa fikih harus terus hadir di tengah dinamika zaman dan bukan menjadi mercusuan di atas doktrin dan dogma yang kaku, guna mempertegas bahwa Islam adalah rahmatan lil alamin. Dan untuk kali pertama, Aicis ke-20 diselenggarakan dengan konsep hybrid conference yang menghadirkan lebih dari 380 pembicara, baik dari dalam maupun luar negeri, yang terbagi dalam 6 program, 80 sesi, dan diikuti lebih dari 5.000 partisipan, baik para dosen, peneliti, sarjana, mahasiswa, cendekiawan, dan masyarakat umum lainnya. Dan sebagai respon atas laju transformasi digital, Aicis ke-20 juga hadir dengan platform digital bernama Aicis Untouched, sebuah aplikasi berbasis Android sebagai media partisipasi konferensi secara mudah penuh mobilitas dalam satu genggaman. Selamat mengikuti konferensi. Selamat datang di Aicis ke-20 2021.